there are more people here today than we've had yet at the meeting. So I would like to ask you all, come back. Our next meeting is going to be a tea. Charlene has arranged for, there it is, the February the 22nd. Claire Hopley, noted author and journalist, is coming to tea. And she will bring tea, talk, beautiful stuff. Since we can't be there, she's bringing it to us. So our next meeting is February the 22nd. Please plan to be here and come to tea. Okay. This meeting has been arranged as a sort of call to arms. And the Amherst Women's Club needs help. I'm glad you're all here. Can't emphasize it enough, we need your help. As you know, the four of us, Libby, Charlene, Beverly, and I, have been rotating the presidency this year. This just happens to be my 3 months. So that's why I'm starting this all off. The four of us are all going to say a little bit. Excuse my throat. I'm just trying. I apologize. Libby's going to start, Charlene, Beverly, and then I will be back. Libby's going to talk about the history of the Women's Club. Charlene's going to talk about participation by members. Beverly's going to talk money, and I'm going to talk the house. At any point after a person gives her part of the presentation, for instance, Libby's going to talk first. If you have any questions specific to what she said, just raise your hand, leave it up. Hank will call on you. Or if you wish, you can hit the raise your hand button, or you can go to chat and do a chat.
And let me just say that the best thing to do is to use the raise hand button.
And they will find that where, Hank?
At the bottom of their Zoom controls.
Is that under reactions?
Yes.
If anybody has a button called reactions, if you just click on that, you will see a little raised hand. Okay, so Libby. So if you have questions, just that's fine. If not, don't worry about it. When we're all finished talking, we'll have as long as a question time as you wish, and then a talk time if you wish after that. So Libby will start us off.
Okay, before we begin today's program, I would like to thank Charlene Moran for her service in the club over the past years in which she has not had a vice president upon whom she could call. I would also like to thank the board members, past and present, for their many hours of service. And where would this club be without the dedication shown by all the various committee members? All of you work so hard to maintain our club and grounds so that we are truly a jewel in the Amherst Historic District. Today, 4 past presidents will present different areas of concern for our current situation. We welcome questions and suggestions as we look at our real and present circumstances and what our future might look like. With your help, we will meet all the challenges facing us. For a short history, on May 18, 1893, Amy Barnes Maynard invited 11 local women to join her to discuss the feasibility of forming a women's club in Amherst. The question was, would the women of Amherst be interested in such a club? The overwhelming answer was yes. This women's club has been a staple in the lives of many area women for the last 128 years. We have known periods of anguish in which we wondered if the club would survive. In 1972, there were suggestions that the club take out a mortgage on the clubhouse and property. or sell some of our property, or sell the house and land and hold our meetings somewhere else. We managed to hang on to our house and club through this crisis. In 2005, Dorothy Hertzfeld and I asked permission of then President Artemis Rommel to form the Alice Maud Hills Preservation Fund as a vehicle for current members to invest in the future of the club. For the past 15 years, club members have supported this effort. Today, we face another crisis. Our investment fund has shrunk, as has our membership, so that it falls to present-day members to make sure the Amherst Women's Club and our clubhouse survive. Any questions? Am I supposed to ask that?
Yes.
Yes. Any questions?
Do we
No, I
see
think we
any,
can-
any questions, Hank? No?
He's checking. He's checking.
He's checking.
I wouldn't think there'd be any for the history.
Okay, no questions so far.
Charlene?
Okay, I'm going to be giving a brief overview of membership numbers and volunteer participation in the running of the club. As you know, the club has been operating with a rotation of past presidents at the helm for nearly a year and with no vice president. The current 4 past presidents who are fulfilling these roles have served as either president or vice president for a combined total of 20 years. In addition, we have served on renovations, restorations, fundraising, hospitality, programming, and technology committees. Currently, there is no one who has stepped up to fill either president or vice president roles. Rotating presidents is not a sustainable system. The continuity is not there. Although we work very well together, in truth, all 4 of us are constantly dealing together with issues as they arise. It says join audio here for me. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Club members are never quite sure who is in charge, and it's very possible for issues to fall through the cracks. If the club were functioning as we did before the pandemic with regular in-person meetings and functions, this system would not function at all well. Besides the president and vice president positions vacant, there are a number of other empty positions that are key to the functioning of the club. Event rental manager is a major position vacant. Catherine Porter has done an outstanding job in this position for nearly 3 years, and she's ready to step down. At this point, we don't have anyone to replace her. When we begin renting space again, and we have already seen an uptick in interest for summer and fall rentals, this position is our bread and butter. Outside event rental income keeps us from having to spend our investment income and funds to balance the budget and deal with unexpected issues that arise in the house and the apartments. The Ways and Means Committee has only 5 members to work year-long to raise the $5,000 we use to meet our commitment to community service. As Bev will explain, this $5,000 we give out is necessary for us to retain our nonprofit status. We need to give away about 33% of our income each year to meet IRS requirements to maintain our nonprofit status. The Gardening Committee has only a small core group who work regularly in the gardens to keep them looking beautiful. Under the guidance of Maxine Jones and Cindy Acebrook's hard work has been streamlined and a gardener was hired to do the heavy work. However, the gardener has resigned and we cannot expect them to carry the load with only a couple of helpers throughout the spring, summer, and fall seasons. There is currently no nominating committee. Our meeting clerk, Kathy Butterfield, has done a superb job taking notes at meetings and keeping us informed, as well as working in the publicity area. She has stepped down from being meeting clerk in that position. This position remains unfilled. Our membership numbers have changed over the years. Since 2000, when we had 150 members, the numbers have been reduced by about a third currently. We currently have 79 dues-paying members and a total of 91 members. More women are working outside the home and not available on Monday afternoons. And so that is one of the reasons for our change in membership. I welcome any questions and suggestions or any ideas that you have. Would anyone like to ask a question? Are there any hands?
I'm looking, and I don't see any hands yet. Oh, wait,
Okay.
there's one. Honore, you want to go ahead?
Barbara Elkins has a hand up.
Okay.
And Barbara.
As I was looking at the group that's here today, it seems to me that these are all long-term members. I don't see any new members or any younger members. I wonder if our image as presented to the community is of a bunch of old ladies. And I wonder if there was something dynamic that we could do that would show that there are, we'd have to find our kids, I guess, to come in and help us, but to do something that's more pointed towards the concerns of younger people. I don't know what it would be, politics or something else, and have maybe bring in a couple speakers that would attract a younger age, because it seems that our older members are very loyal. They keep coming back, but we don't seem to attract any younger people. And the time is one thing, I agree.
Yeah.
But what else could we do?
No, I think
Okay, good point.
we have thought about that, and if we continue as a club, that's something we definitely have to address. One of our members, Catherine Porter, had some wonderful suggestions about bringing us up to the 21st century and even our appearance and our look. So I think that's something that we can explore and expand. And perhaps when we can meet again, we can do a major opening in the fall, if that's possible, so that we can put on a display of being alive and well and welcoming to new members. So that's a great question, Honore.
Thank you.
And anyone else? Adele? No one else at this point? Okay.
Okay,
Keep thinking, and we will invite you to ask more questions later.
Beverly, it looks like you're up.
I am talking about the finances, the current finances of the club. As Libby mentioned, the Amherst Women's Club was founded in 1893, and the house was willed to the club in 1922 by Alice Maud Hills, a deceased member of the club. In addition to the house, $10,000 was included in the will for maintenance. The question was raised then, back in 1922, by the club's members, whether or not to accept the offer of the house. The concern was, how would the members be able to finance maintaining it? A vote was taken by the members in May 1923 to accept Alice Maud Hill's gift. In 1972, concern was raised again about being able to keep the house because of maintenance costs. However, in June 1972, the members decided to keep it. In 1993, a greatly needed and much appreciated final bequest of $78,000 was received from the Alice Maud Hills estate after the deaths of Mrs. Hill's sisters and niece. The money was used to improve the driveway, parking lot, and roof, and to repaint the entire house. Since then, there have been several other generous donations from families of deceased members. The Alice Maud Hills Preservation Fund, as Libby said, began in 2005. Donors to this fund can designate their gift to either current preservation or the investment account. Libby will be sending out her annual letter requesting donations for this fund later this spring. Before the pandemic, money raised for all of the club's expenditures came from members' dues, apartment rentals, and outside rental events such as weddings, parties, memorial service, etc. The Ways and Means Committee is charged every year to raise $5,000 to be used for grants to local service agencies and to 2 high school graduating senior scholarships. These donations are necessary to maintain the club's nonprofit status. Last year, $4,000 was raised by the committee. The $5,000 goal would have been reached with the profits from the flower show planned for late March. Unfortunately, that event had to be canceled because of the pandemic. The 2 high school scholarships were given, and the remaining $2,000 from the $4,000 total was divided evenly among 4 social service agencies. They're the Amherst Survival Center, the Western Mass Food Bank, Family Outreach of Amherst, and Safe Passage, all of which deal directly with individuals and families affected by the pandemic. Since the pandemic, without any income from outside rentals, the only income for the club is from the 3 apartment rentals, which is $28,800 a year, and dues from the 90 or so members, which is about $6,750 a year. Therefore, the total revenue the club will have this year is $35,550. I've taken figures from the 2020-2021 budget listed in the yearbook to calculate the expenses that the club is having this year. And I'm only including the bare minimum of expenses. Going in order, the highest expense is for the fire insurance for the house, and that's $8,700 a year. Our taxes are $8,100, even though we're considered a nonprofit because we have the apartments upstairs, we are taxed. To maintain the grounds is $6,600, and that does include snow plowing, grass cutting, etc. The electricity for the house for the year is about $6,000. The gas is about $3,000. We have to pay an accountant $2,000 a year. Water and sewer is $1,000. The phone and Wi-Fi connection is about $1,000, and our website is $325. That total is $36,725. The revenue for this year, I said, is approximately $35,550, and our expenses at a minimum are $36,725. That leaves a difference between revenue and expenses of $1,175, and this is not including any costs for maintenance. Catherine is going to talk more about the maintenance items we need to have done, but some of the major items that the club is already encountering are the front portico of the house. We are hearing from our construction person, Ron Keith, that repair is critical, and his estimate is about $30,000. We'd like to have the house painted, which you all know that needs to be done. Our estimate for that at this moment is $80,000. We've had to do some repairs in the upstairs apartments. We had to purchase storm windows for apartment 2, and the stove has needed repair in apartment 3. We pay $80 a month to have the house cleaned. And most recently, we've had problems with the heating system, and it's going to cost a lot of money to have it all fixed. As of December 31st, 2020, the club's checking account balance was $3,374.54, and the money market account and investment fund total was $138,117.30. The Alice Maud Hills Fund is currently at $29,500. So the total money available to the club right now is $170,000, $991.84, or rounding it, $171,000. If we repair the front portico, which must be done, and have the house painted, those two projects will cost $110,000 of our current $171,000 balance. That will leave our account with $61,000 and no immediate foreseeable way to build that money back. When the money is gone, it's gone. Currently, we have not been able to get any specific information from the IRS regarding what the club needs to do during the pandemic to maintain its nonprofit status. So the question is, how do we get the money that we need to cover all of these expenses? Are there any questions?
May I just add that I'll be sending out toward the end of March, Dallas Maud Hill's investment fund fundraiser letter. And then maybe we'll have an influx. It's not going to be a lot, but whatever we get, and I've asked people to be very generous this year, that will be available.
Okay, Norma had her hand raised. Go ahead, Norma.
Yes, hi. I wondered when the house was last painted. I thought it was within the past 6 or 7 years.
And was the house what, Norma?
Last painted.
Painted.
And how much was it? Yeah, or about how much?
It was about, well, she said 80, but it was roughly $70,000, 69,000 something. And wasn't it in 2006, Libby?
I recall 2004.
Four. Okay,
4, 6, whatever.
right, 2004. Obviously, it should have been painted a while back. I'll talk about a little bit about that when I talk about the house.
Yeah.
Okay, LJ has her hand raised.
Thank you.
LJ, go ahead and unmute yourself. LJ, press unmute.
I'm astonished that painting of that house costs $80,000. I cannot believe. If you calculate what is the surface area of the outside of the house and multiply that with the number of gallons of paint you need to put on that, I cannot believe that it is $80,000.
I'll take that, Beverly.
Well, okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, that's not all it costs, LJ. A lot of that money, it's not just number of gallons of paint, though you would be surprised how many gallons of paint it takes to paint this thing twice.
I know,
believe me.
we recently
But-
painted our house. It cost, our house is smaller, okay. It doesn't have a so big surface. It costs $15,000.
Right,
It cannot be 80,000 for painting that house. I cannot believe. I will paint it for 80,000 with profit of 40,000.
okay, LJ, a lot of that money is, a lot of the money is the preparation for the painting. This
Okay,
house is
okay.
old, and that counts.
I
Scraping
agree.
it down to regular wood, it counts replacing boards that need to be replaced. Part
Okay.
of the problem with painting it now is that we haven't painted it, and we are running the risk of causing damage to the house itself. The paint has been protecting the house for the last 16 years or so, and it's not doing its job now. So most of the cost of that is fixing the wood, the molding, getting rid of any critters and bugs and mold. The preparation work is what costs the most. Excuse me.
I
Beverly.
agree. I know what our preparation works. I know that there are damaged boards of cladding of the house, molding, etc. That is all very well. I know that the most work labor goes to the preparation. That's true.
That's right.
Still, that is such an outrageous $80,000 price. For 80,000, you can build house. It's
Not
an
this
unbelievable price.
No.
What
Libby,
century are you
Libby,
living
did you have something to say? Libby, did you
What?
have some?
What century are you living in? What can you build for $80,000 that would be like the Amherst Women's Club?
I don't know, Libby. I'm comparing with the price that we paid for painting our house, and that was 6 times less, almost 6 times. And our house is not 6 times less than Amherst Women's Club, and it's not in the worse shape than Amherst Women's Club from the point of view of need for repairing certain elements of the facade. I don't know. I would, in engineering, you always go with 3 offers.
Yes,
Find 2 more
yes.
contractors who are going to give the offer. Because
think we
this
need to
price
know-
is outrageous.
Don't worry. If we ever get to the place where we are capable of painting the house, we shall. Just one other little thing there. I don't know how many of you come up the hill on Main Street up to Pelham, but the Pelham Town Center, Police Department, Library, all of that building was painted a little over a year and a half ago. It's, I would say, number of board feet is probably a little bit smaller. That one cost $100,000.
But that building, I would say, Catherine, that building is much bigger than a Mount House. It's bigger. It's
Okay,
bigger, much bigger.
okay. But do remember,
I would suggest that we come with 3 more contractors and
Yes.
see with 3 more contractors. Let's go. We are all Black Lives Matter. Let's find Black contractor who is going to paint that building. Give her money and he's going to paint it for 40,000, not 80.
well, I would like to,
That's my suggestion.
okay. Thank you very much. Be sure we will
You're
have many
welcome.
bids. Okay, any other questions for Beverly?
Hank is checking.
Okay,
Oh, Norma?
Norma,
Okay, just how many square feet is it? Because that's what they usually go by. I agree, there's fixing it up if there's boards that are rotted or.
actually, right now, I don't know how many square feet are
Okay.
in the house. All I know is 69,000 some hundred, almost 70,000 was what it cost when it was painted before. And do
Wow.
remember that if we're paying labor costs, it's $75 an hour for a painter. And it's $57 an hour for the painter's apprentice who hands the brushes to the painter.
Oh, a minimum price. Can I say something? Am I seen on?
yes,
Minimum hour rate that I'm given for scoring for Pearson is $16. I work for $16. I have PhD in polymer chemistry and I work for $16. We can find painter who is painting for $40, not for 80. 80 is too much.
Right.
I agree. You need precautions. You need clothing, etc., because of danger of paint, chemistry, etc. But you can find a painter for $40 an hour, not 80. It's too much.
Okay, Libby?
Yeah, I just want to say, when I first entered the club, it had just been painted by somebody that gave a very low bid. And the club went with that bid. And we had to, in essence, redo because it wasn't done correctly. So sometimes I think you can go for the cheaper and it might not be as satisfactory in the long run.
I agree with that. But from the point of view of $80 per hour for a master painter, that's too much.
Well, it's a union painter.
Yes, it's a union painter. That's union labor costs.
I agree. I agree that labor is very expensive. That is the main cost in this 80,000, the most probably,
That's
because
right.
if you don't have a company that has proper equipment like those machines that scrape the boards and all other things, then you'll have many man hours. That's true, but you have to calculate on an hourly rate. Hourly rate has to be lower.
Okay.
Good advice. Who are you giving it to?
I'm in the meeting, Frank, please. Amherst Women's Club.
Okay, I'm going for a walk.
Okay.
Okay, I see a hand with Cindy.
Cindy.
Is there
Cindy, you
anything
wanna go ahead?
else?
Cindy Acebrook?
Cindy, yeah. Unmute.
Well, I was wondering, in this time of pandemic, this might be a crazy question, but have we written grants before in terms of getting money
Yes.
for restoration? Okay, I just had to
Yes, we
ask.
have.
Yes,
I'll be talking about that.
yes, we have looked into it. Yes.
Great.
Any other questions? Hank, see anybody?
I don't see any hands, no.
Okay, well, hang on to your questions then. I will talk and then we'll open it up. As you've heard, our home is 157 years old. And we've been in it for about 98 years. In that time, the physical plant of the house has been renovated extensively. The steam heat fired by oil replaced the fireplaces that heated the house. Forced air heating and air conditioning fired by gas now replaced the steam radiators that wouldn't work and that could no longer be repaired. New electrical wiring has replaced the old knob and tube wiring, which was in place when we received the house. Plumbing pipes have all been replaced and fixtures have been upgraded. All of this has cost a lot of money over 98 years. At the moment, the immediate big repairs that we are facing are, as Beverly mentioned, the sagging balcony over the front portico. This is that little balcony off the studio apartment upstairs. It is actually pulling away from the house. The pillars around there are all rotting. The balusters, 4 of them have fallen out. Luckily, we still have them. We saved them. And the fear is that the rotting wood would seep down into the major big pillars that are holding up the roof of the porch. If that happens, then the whole porch is going to fall down and we're going to have major damage to the house. That is why we did a little stopgap on it earlier this year. The major problem is at this point, ice dams coming into the house, and we're finding leaks around the front door and in the corner of the library and the corner of the living room on the first floor. That was patched, so we are no longer getting those links, but we need to get the wood out of there before it affects the whole porch. There are problems with the roof over the second floor of the house. We have found part of the roofing material on the ground after the storms of last fall and the ice and snow this year. Because of that, we are now finding leaks in the second floor, on the floor of the landing on the second floor. Slightly comical and certainly not of as big a problem as the other of these things. The cupola was checked last week, and a window has come out, one of those arched, beautifully carved arch windows on the cupola. The wood has rotted and the glass just came out, didn't break, just slid out, slid down, and was leaning up against the outside of the house long enough ago that a bird started to build a nest underneath the leaning glass. So this must have happened last summer, fall sometime. We've talked about the painting. That's been for years. That is also a big, not as big a chore as some things, but certainly a costly chore. And on the horizon, which unfortunately we have been trying to ignore for years, is the end of the what is now the bridal room downstairs, that back wall that leads out onto the driveway from the front driveway to the parking lot. That wall was never built on a foundation. It has wooden pillars underneath it, and the finishing board, the fascia board that has now been underneath the ground for so long is rotting out. We keep trying to dig away the dirt, dig away the gravel so that it won't rot, but it's been years. So that's in the offing. As always, there are boards around the house that need to be replaced. We keep up with them as best we can and as fast as we can. Beverly has also told you that we need about $37,000 to keep the lights on and the doors open. And we bring in about $36,000 between the dues and the apartment rentals. This does not, of course, as she said, take care of maintenance on the physical plant. It does not include any future renovations, which is really large maintenance problems. Every year, we count on our fundraisers to meet operational costs and give us money so that we can meet our community service costs, our scholarship donations. This money has decreased recently, and of course, this last year was non-existent. So what's happened is that every year for the last several years, we've had to dip into our investment funds to meet our operating costs, as well as pay our maintenance bills. As Bev mentioned, this past week, we have had, because of the Arctic polar vortex, I guess, had some immediate necessities in the heating system down below that we've now got figured out and is scheduled to be repaired. We have, in the past several years, we have explored grants. It sounds wonderful to think that we could apply for a grant from somewhere and they would pay us the money to repair whatever we need to have repaired. In reality, grants never give you, almost never give you, the full amount that you ask for. Usually there is a stipulation on grants that you match or match a certain part of the money that they're going to give you. As far as community funds, we applied several years ago when we were building the fire escapes for community funds on that. They would, out of a project that should have cost us $25,000. We ended up paying about $75,000 because of changes that the city wanted to have made in the architecture, the way that the fire escape was made. And we only could have applied for $20,000 out of that total bill because that was all that was going to be fixed on the original house. And they would only give us the funds on an original house fix. We have talked to community leaders from around the area and around the state about big donor fundraising and what it would take to find some major donors who would give us multiple thousands of dollars at a time. Barring someone that we don't know about that has a big wallet in their back pocket, like what just happened with the Emily Dickinson Museum. Unbeknownst to them, they had a big donor. We have not been able to come up with anybody who could give us large sums of money. So we are at a crossroads. You've all heard this. We've been here at least twice before that we know, but I have to ask the question again, is the Amherst Women's Club still viable? We've had this problem before, but we've never had quite as bad of the money problems that we have now. Since the end of the year that Beverly was talking about, our investment funds have lost about $4,000 on the market. So we now have another $4,000 less to use for what we need. So this goes back to you. Is the Amherst Women's Club important enough to you and to this community and all it's meant to this community over the last 100 some odd years? Is it important enough to survive? Personally, is it important enough to you all to step up and help us save the club? Now we'll throw it back to you for your comments. This is obviously not a quick discussion. This is going to take us a while. It would be nice if we could all meet and talk about this together, but we can't. Perhaps in May. I would ask you, above and beyond what we talk about today, I will be taking notes. Susan is taking notes on what all you say and all of the suggestions. I would suggest above and beyond that you contact any of the 4 presidents, call them, email them, whatever, and give all of them or one of them your concern. We will bring it all together. We will start talking about this, can talk about it more at a board meeting that we will be having this week. So I ask if there's anybody who has a question. If you have it that would be answered better by one of the people, just say, I have a question for Charlene or something. I see that Dorothy Pam has her hand up. I don't know, Hank, who you see.
I agree, yes. Dorothy, go ahead.
I'd like to draw upon a past experience and a present experience. When Amherst Montessori needed to build a new school, they went to get money from all kinds of places, and people who had lots of it gave it. But I was not one who had a lot of money, but I made a pledge, I believe, of $3,000, and I paid it monthly. I think I paid $75 a month for a couple of years. And I was very proud of myself because a wonderful new building came up in a very short time, and I had a chance to see my grandchildren using it. So then recently we received a fundraising letter from the library. That one is asking for 100 people to give $5,000 over 5 years. Now that's a bigger stretch, okay? But again, the idea is fundraising that is aimed at people who do not have a lot of money sitting in the bank that they're going to give away right now, but who are willing to make a pledge and then to pay a reasonable amount, which it varies, of course, to individual, over a period of time to do it. But the accumulation is they will have been a donor of 2,000 or 3,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it is, the different levels. I personally think that could be pretty effective. And so I'm just throwing that out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good.
Was that someone else, Hank?
Looking, please raise your hand again, whoever wants to. Okay, Honoré, go ahead. You have to unmute yourself. Yep, great.
As I sit here thinking while you all have been talking, first of all, we talked about the club itself as a club. But then the second issue, and the one that is really pressing upon us, is the conservation of the house. Maybe we should start thinking in terms of conservators and forget about all of the fun that we have in the house and the events that we do and the flower show and all those things that we value. But perhaps, I mean, this is kind of crazy, but I think perhaps we have to start thinking about ways that we can appeal to people who like to conserve buildings and to begin a marketing campaign that is really centered on the house. I know that we've done a lot to tell people about the house and that it's been here and all, but I can bet you that 1 out of maybe 10 people could tell you anything about the house's history right now if we went out into the community. And they just go by it and they like it and they think it should stay there. But people just don't realize what conservation means. And I think maybe we have to start changing the focus. I don't know. I'm just babbling on here. But as I sat here today, the first thing that people talked about was the house and what the fun that we have here. And I know that looking at all these old ladies, most people couldn't give a damn about what we're doing and enjoying. But maybe if we focused on the house with some sort of really kind of big interest, let's look at some of the ways other people have throughout the country found ways to conserve and preserve their buildings. And maybe we could come up with something creative to do around that. I don't know, I'm just sitting here.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Any other questions, Hank?
Yes.
LJ,
Yeah, I have a
And then Mark.
question. I mean, have a comment.
Okay, who's that?
Cynthia Therian.
Ah, Cynthia.
Hi,
Okay.
how you doing?
Hi.
Hi. So what about a lot of people have IRAs and they have RMDs, required minimum distributions, and some people don't need them and they just they're required to take them by the IRS codes, and then they have to pay taxes on them. There is a type of IRS code that allows people to contribute their RMDs, which stands for required minimum distributions, to a qualified charity, and it's got to fall within a certain code, but it's usually things like museums. I believe that was Emily Dickinson also. So many people who are required to take these distributions may may want to consider donating those so they don't have to pay taxes on those distributions if they don't need them. And it could be possibly a cost-effective way even to donate to the Women's Club for individuals. Some of you might be in that position. I mean, I'm not at that stage yet, but certainly when I get there, the age now is, it was just changed with the Secure Act. It was just changed to age 72. So people over 72 must take those distributions. And sometimes that's a burden because it puts them in a higher tax bracket, and they're often trying to find ways to reduce their tax liability. And it would help the Women's Club.
Good.
Thank you, Cynthia. It's interesting to get perspective of somebody who works in that field.
Knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, knows what she's talking about. That's it.
Great.
Got it.
You're welcome. I hope it can help.
Thank you.
Marge LaRoche has her hand up.
Myself there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was thinking along the same lines of what Honoré was saying. I'm much newer to this club than many of you are, so I don't have the emotional attachment that many of you have. I might have that to something else that I'd been to for years, but I haven't been with the Women's Club for years. But and people looking at our dilemma might say the same thing. So why should we worry about a group of people who like to get together in that nice house and have their teas? What do they really do? And I'm not saying that we don't do things. I'm on the scholarship committee, and I absolutely love listening to the people who come and talk to us. And although we had one young woman one time who sat back after talking to us and looked around there were maybe 6 or 7 of us, all older white women. And she said, so is this, I forget how, is Barbara on? Maybe she could tell us what she said. She said something like, so what is this? Just a club for old women or something like that? We sort of chuckled, but that's exactly the image that we gave. At any rate, my point is the house is the constant, I think, that you might be able to reach people with rather than yet another club that does many things that other clubs do and that benefits a few people, like our scholarship winners, and we do a lovely garden show and all, but what do we really do that touches everybody in the community? And I think the house is the constant there. So to me, that's an excellent way to look at it. And I don't mean to downplay anything. I love coming to the meetings, and I've missed them terribly this year, but that's not going to matter to people who don't come to the meetings.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Marge. Thank you.
Yep.
Who's up next, Hank?
LJ has her hand
LJ?
raised.
LJ, can you unmute?
Okay,
There.
I would like to mention historic district of Amherst where our house is. So this might be the question for Dorothy, who is a member of our present government of Amherst Town. Since this bylaw was introduced a few years ago about historical district of Amherst, maybe we are allowed to apply for certain kind of funds that are either state or federal relating to the preservation and conservation of historical districts.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. In other words, because
I don't know the answer. I think we should look into the bylaw, because when I was present when the arguments about introducing.
Oops,
Lost her.
we've got a problem here.
LJ, can you unmute, please?
We shall be able to apply for the funds for preservation and conservation of historical district.
Okay,
That was one of the reasons why it was insisted that bylaw should be introduced. So we should look at that. I assume people who are claiming that knew that that exists. We believe them. I don't know, at least.
Dorothy, do you have an answer or opinion?
Yes, well, certainly, there is money that comes from our own taxes and through the state, which is used for historic and districts and other things. But I have a memory that I talked about this with Libby in the past. And there's a reason why the Amherst Women Club does not want to apply for those funds from the town. So I defer to Libby to give those reasons.
Okay, this is quite a while ago, but I think to apply for, if you apply for those grants or whatever, there are a lot of strings attached, and I do not remember now what exactly they are. But at that time, the Women's Club members said they want to retain our independence.
Yeah.
Is there a way, Dorothy, I guess I'm directing this at you. Is there a way we can find out what these restrictions, strings, I guess you call them,
Um,
are now?
Yes, we can look into it, though. The most efficient thing would be for me to just get the latest information and send it to you, because your knowledge of the history and the uniqueness of the house far surpasses mine. But example, the Jewish Community Center is in the, I guess, is it the first congregational church down the road? And the
Old
steeple
church, yeah.
was falling down. Okay. So this is a Jewish organization which really doesn't necessarily need a steeple from an early congregational church. It's a really beautiful, important building in the town. So the JCA had a meeting to decide whether they should apply for the funds, the CPA, Community Preservation Funds, and they did apply and they did get them. And so they were able to use those funds to restore the steeple to maintain the beauty of a historic treasure of the town of Amherst. So, I mean, I know that people have used them and I've gone to many of the meetings, but why don't we say that we'll look into this again, but I will do it with Libby and Catherine and Charlene. I will just convey the material. But there was something else. You felt that you were going to be giving up, or your committee felt you were going to be giving up something you didn't want to give up. And that's where I don't remember the details.
And that could have changed over time. Yeah.
Could have, yeah.
I don't remember now why we felt, but all I can say, the vote was finally that we would rather maintain our independence, as
Yeah.
we have been independent throughout our existence.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Dorothy. Really, really appreciate if you could get that information to how Libby, Charlene, Beverly, me, whoever.
Good, great.
Thank you.
Any more questions, Hank?
I don't see any other hands.
Before we end, I would like to say just one thing, and that is all of our concern about the house is foremost and relevant. We need to also think about how we function as a club, and are there members who will step up and do the work of the club as volunteers, because without a president and a vice president, we have, how do we continue to operate? So please think about that as well. Thank you.
Again, if I could say it, because Charlene was in the middle of it, she has asked, well, I guess her 2 years and now a third year that she's been president, many times for who's going to step up and be the next generation of the leaders in this group. I hate to say that it looks like it's the younger crew that's going to have to step up on this, because there's an awful lot of the older crew in here. But, you know, far be it for me to say that someone who happens to be in her 70s or even in her 80s can't do the job. That's not true. Anyway, what we have all been trying to say here is that someone has to step up and take on the work of this club. This year, we've had, as always, great help from the Women's Club board, but the four of us are the ones that they call at night or email when the heater doesn't work or something else like that. AJ has done a great job with the house every time we need something. I mean, she's the first one to say, I'll go get it, or, oh yeah, that person wants to donate something, I'll go check it out. She's been a great help, but we all need help. And when we do finally get back in and have physical meetings together, we need to have someone who will step up and say they'll take ownership of organizing who's going to make the cookies and the tea, if that's what we decide the way we want to do it. That committee has also had a few problems lately. Again, I remember when I first joined back in the dark ages, the first committee you were put on. I mean, we weren't given actually a choice on that one. You're going to work on hospitality because that's where you meet the people. You're working together in the kitchen, and you've got a year long of cycling, working in the kitchen, putting on the teas, being the hospitable one that greets people at the doors. That's where we learned who people were. So there's a two-pronged attack here. Yes, we have a house that's falling apart a little bit right now, and it looks like we really don't have enough money to keep it up. Now, there are things we can think about on how to do that. But equally important, maybe more important, is the organization itself, not the physical plant. If you come down to it, really, you don't need a physical plant. You need the group. It's the group of women who want to be together because they enjoy being together. My daughter is in her early 40s. Yes, she is in a group too. Women want to be in a group. It's just different from the way we do ours. Hers is a professional group that would meet during happy hours and do classes on how to manage whatever they're working in. That's still okay, it's a group. We have to decide if this group, can keep on going. Anybody else? I see other hands there. Hank, who have you got?
I see Dorothy and then Louise.
Louise?
Hi. I have a feeling, it's like, as you said, this is a twofold thing. We've got the house and we've got the club, so to speak, or the meetings, right? The programs. If we didn't have the burden of the house, I have a feeling that we would have a lot more people coming forward to take over various responsibilities because they wouldn't be quite so profound. Just a quick thought. I mean, unfortunately, I happen to be involved with 2 or 3 organizations that are sort of on the cusp, so to speak, of no longer existing or having to find other ways of existing.
Okay. I'm writing all this down, Louise. That's why my head's down. So.
No, that's fine. Answers. I wish we could find a way to have someone take over the house and run it in some way and be able to use a couple of rooms for meetings, say, or 2 rooms in the kitchen or something. I don't know. I have no answer. I think someone forwarded you, there was an article in the New York Times 2 or 3 weeks ago about people who are buying older houses and restoring them in various ways, but I don't know. And that's another issue. Who can we find to do such a thing?
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
Good point.
Hank, any more? I see Dorothy.
Dorothy's hand up.
Well, I disagree slightly with some of the comments. To me, the house is at least half of it. I love the group of people, but I have lots of chance to meet lots of people. I could be going to all kinds of activities at the senior center. I don't. I'm sure there's some overlap, but it's the club, it's the women in the house on the grounds that creates the whole picture for me. And I just want to say that. So I feel that keeping up the house is really our sacred duty. It brings us together to work so hard. I think some of the people who have led this club and worked so hard through the years would not have worked so hard if it were not partly to keep that house alive. And I think it's a great achievement. And I think that we should be very proud of ourselves for all that we do. But when we do the flower show, and I miss so much that we're not doing it this year, it's the flower show in the house, and it's our knowledge that what we're doing is fun and that we get a more varied group of people, but it's also helping to support the house. So I think that we have to keep both. Thank you.
Good point.
Any more? LJ?
Still muted, LJ. Go ahead, unmute. LJ, you're still muted. You turned your video off. Try again.
What those managing companies that are keeping maintenance of the renting houses. Amherst is full of rented houses, and there I would expect few management companies that are doing professional maintenance of those houses. Maybe as a club, instead of dealing with contractor who is charging $80,000 for painting, we can contract this agency to take care of maintenance. That is the key expense of the house. Of course, we want to have our flower show and our meetings and everything. We don't want to give house to anybody because that is part of our activity as a club. But professional help in maintenance of the house that will be coordinated by a management company might be one of the options to consider. Maybe it would be cheaper than ourselves contracting each and every job that has to be done on the house.
Charlene, you want to take that one?
Well, that's an interesting idea. There are certainly a lot of management companies around. Whether or not they deal with historic properties and old properties, it's something we could certainly look into without question.
And remember what I said about our finances, our rent from the apartments and our dues barely covers our other expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So a maintenance company would be more money out.
Yeah, I mean, a maintenance company will take care of everything, starting from painting the house to taking care of the heating system or foundation under bridal room, because that will be the whole thing. Mm-hmm. That's the reason I'm thinking it might be sort of easier to carry on that cost. Because when you have that coordinated by one company, that definitely cuts down certain costs. That is engineering.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, one that I have not heard anyone else mention. So it's certainly something that we could consider looking into. Thank you.
Just
Thank you.
so that you know, Charlene has on many occasions engineered, I'm sorry, I heard that word, engineered maintenance personnel who took care of the house. So we have done that. They have not been huge companies that then could take on some of the big jobs. But we have had a contract with maintenance people. Anybody else? See anybody else, Hank?
I don't, I don't see any other, wait, there's Barbara.
Barbara?
Maybe she didn't have her hand up, actually.
No?
Should we open up to chat?
Yes. Hank, would you be so good as to unmute everybody? And let's let everyone talk. Again, please.
Hey,
I want to
everybody.
say something about the management company.
Oh, okay. Who's that?
I have a.
Everyone will
yeah,
have to
I
unmute
have a neighbor
themselves.
who has done this for years.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Barbara. Okay, Barbara
I
Carpino.
wanted to answer that comment about a management company.
Oh,
My neighbor has done this for years because she lives out of state and she uses a management. They take a percentage of your income from the rent and you have to have enough of that to make it worth their while. They take a percentage of your income.
Right.
Well, I guess we don't.
That's true for every rented property. I have a friend here in Amherst who has a few houses and she uses management company for maintenance of those houses. And of course, she pays a
percentage.
yearly, whatever is the how do they call that fee?
It's a percentage of what your rent
Yeah,
is.
yeah, from the rent
Yes.
is paid.
Yes,
Yeah.
I don't know if we could afford to do that is my point. Okay.
We wouldn't make it worth their while.
No, we wouldn't make it worth their while.
No, my point, no. My point was this: whether this management company and of course quality of its work would be cheaper, that amount of money we have yearly to give for the maintenance of company. That would understand that not our payment would not come from the rent because we rent only 2 apartments. It's not enough. But from that, what we every year hand out as a maintenance cost, whether that will be smaller for this company that would do the same job, but for less money. That is the idea.
Okay.
well, it's something we can check into. Yes.
Hank is needing to leave, so we are going to have to end the meeting, but I know Barbara Carpino wanted to say something.
Yes.
Well, Catherine mentioned that we should start getting into the 21st century. Maybe we should just, well, you did say it at the beginning, or someone said it.
Charlene said
I
it.
think I'm the guilty party
Charlene
here.
said it.
Oh, okay.
Well, anyways, this would be a good time to reorganize the club into the 21st century. I mean, we do things that have been done for at least 100 years. I mean, I was a member of the club 30 years ago and it hasn't changed.
Love it.
That's a
Thank
good
No,
God.
I mean,
But you
Thank
cannot
God something
do much,
hasn't.
no, I mean,
you
so,
cannot
I
do
mean,
much more except being habitual with what we are already. We are
I mean,
already
how would you change the club? I think people should wonder, you know, how does one step into the 21st century?
ask younger people, ask your daughters.
Tell everybody.
So,
Our daughters don't have time.
They would not meet.
That's true. Our younger people
Would
don't
not
have
come.
time. That is the main problem of younger.
They're into professional networking, more professional networking.
Yes.
Yes, but I have 4 daughters, and one wants to join the club, though she lives in Boston. And I see her as a future president, but not right now. But
Send her over.
she is joining in September. But from what I gather from her, women reach a certain age, they work about 20, they start very early, and by the time they're in their 50s, they get tired of working. And they want
Not my daughter.
something else. And they want something else. Maybe we can do something. I mean, as this is a way of stepping into the 21st century. We're getting younger people, but I right now I can't think of how to do it. So,
well, let's
virtually by using artificial intelligence or using our iPads, iPhones, and all things. Because your daughter is in Boston, she can participate through regular streaming of our meetings to people who want to see it. So it's not so big deal. We need just technical person who will stream our meetings. That's it. One of the ways to, how to say, modernize our way of doing things. But we are already doing Zoom, what is quite up to date, I would say. We are not so technically backwards. So
Yes. Don't we have our meetings on our website?
Yes.
Well, streaming would allow something, you need a platform streaming or something so that there can be a little bit more interactive. And instead of just going from window to window the way we are now, it would be more of a camera view of
exactly. You have
what's going
during
on.
the meeting. You have during the meeting camera rolling on, and at the same time that is streamed to the people who want to watch it. And that can be on the website. It can be on Facebook site. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. How about?
Well, those are all suggestions that will help us
Yes.
to move forward.
and reorganized into the 21st century.
Right.
That should be our goal.
So put your heads together, everyone. We're all really bright women, and we can.
I haven't even do Zoom.
We can do it.
Of course, Charlene.
How about putting your thoughts down and sending them?
Yeah.
Right.
Sending them to one of the 4 of us. We will get it all collated together. We'll come up with all of these ideas and probably many more. And then we're going to send them all out to you. You guys have got to answer. Think about this. Figure out how to do it. Charlene just said it. We're all smart women. We should be able to figure this out.
We should.
And figure out Zoom.
Don't forget all of the positions that we need to have filled to keep the club running.
Well,
The building is one thing, the club is another thing. We need workers.
We do need workers.
I was going to make a suggestion as going into the 21st century, we should have a mandatory, well, there is a mandatory rule that you have to belong to a committee, but the hospitality committee should be mandatory for everybody.
Okay.
I mean, that's the committee that is, I mean, unless people think that teas are old fashioned and we should get rid of them.
We've had a suggestion, Barbara, that instead of having, which is also because of the dining room, it's crowded. You get a big table and tea at each end of the table, and nobody can get around.
Right.
It doesn't
Well,
work.
then that's it. You know, we can work on these things. What I'm saying is we have a lot to think about.
We do. So send your thoughts.
Yep.
We've lost Hank, so he's gone.
Well, that's fine. When we decide it's time to go, all you have to do is end yourself.
Yeah,
that's true. I don't even know how to do this.
Just check off. Instead of ending everyone, just end yourself.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, there.
Thank
Barbara's
you.
gone.
Okay, I'm
AJ?
taking off.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I have
I
a
don't know what
question
I'm doing here.
for
Hang
See
on.
you in 2 weeks.
and Beverly, since they're at the house
Oh,
now.
it's still
Have
on.
you looked at those donations? And if not, I can take them to the hospice, but I wanted somebody else to eyeball.
Charlene and I will do that before we leave. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, great. And just let me know. And I said, it was fine if I take it to hospice. And I
I don't know how to get rid of you people.
Catherine, I have to leave.
I can just shut you all off. I can just.
You're still on. Hang on.
I have.
Okay.
Wait, AJ,
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
I'm gonna turn it off.
Oh, yeah, Catherine.
don't go.
Thanks from all of you.
No, just for Catherine. I wanted to make sure that we get an invitation out to Ken Tong, the food director,
How do we get rid of this?
and his assistant for when we're going to have the tea. Because I had been talking to him initially, and I wanted to make sure that he at least knows what we've done in place of it. I've sent him a note to that effect, but I wanted to make sure he's invited.
Now you have those contact emails.
I do, yes, I'll send them to you.
Thank you. I'll get out a note too. And you know, and I don't know the assistant's name.
I don't either now, I have it written down. I'll
Okay,
get it right.
And
thank
we'll
you.
send them a link to the meeting.
Yes,
Yes, and I want Catherine to send the link to them.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we will.
Actually, I'm the one that sends. them.
Charlene will.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Shirley, if that's your job, okay.
This is one of the problems with 4 people.
I was gonna say, maybe somebody that was speaking today would like to take on the role of president.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, ladies.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Beverly, Charlene, can I ask you a question?
Sure, Yes. go ahead.
You're gonna look at AJ's silver in the box.
Yes. Yeah.
Could you take a picture of it or something? Because
Yeah.
if we really are going to think of the change up how we do a tea and have more stations
Yes.
so that people can actually move around, these I think are individual sort of pots instead of big urns, correct?
Yes, they are.
A tea and a coffee service.
Yeah.
Okay,
A creamer
so
and
we could use
a
those.
little tray. Yes, we could use them. But
Okay.
if people say, well, we have so much, and so many things, maybe we want something else. But yes, we could use them, I think.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay,
Randy,
thank you, everybody for
Thank
coming
you.
today. Having
Bye-bye.
39
Thank you
participants
all.
was fantastic.
All right.
Meeting for all here.
Okay.
Oh.
Bye-bye.